Joining us now, former Deputy National Security Advisor, KT McFarland. KT, let me start with something that is near and dear to my heart, something greasy: oil. The president said in his first statement yesterday that subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack on Iran for a period of 2 weeks. The strait's not open. How long do we wait?
Oh, probably not long. I would think if the President Trump's not going to be played, he said 2 weeks, we've got the terms. You've got to assume that maybe it takes a little bit of time, maybe 12, 24, maybe as much as 48 hours for Iran to get the message, because the problem with Iran right now is who are we negotiating with? We're probably negotiating with the civilian leadership, maybe not all of the military leadership, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And in addition to that, the Guard Corps, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, they've got something like 31 autonomous regions and districts. So they've authority, sort of kill authority, has been devolved down to those lower levels. So you could have a commander who decides, well, I don't want to abide by this, or I'm going to try to sabotage this. So I give them a little bit of time, but not much. And if the Iranians can't get their act together really soon, I think, you know, as Pete Hegseth said yesterday, we've got all the military and we'll just start all over again.
Just to clarify, Iran's going to limit Hormuz traffic to 12 ships a day and collect tolls under President Trump's ceasefire. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, you know, KT, when we look at the vulnerability of the market and how the market reacted positively today on a forward-looking basis and what could happen, what could go wrong in the next 72 hours that would throw things into chaos again?
You know, the thing that I will look for is somebody on Iran's side just trying to sabotage it. Is there a difference between the military and the civilian leadership? We were negotiating, as President Trump said, with we think are the right guys. But remember, what's happened, Marcus, in the last several weeks is that we've killed off all of the senior leadership of Iran's military, their clerical leadership, their civilian leadership. So in addition to that, we're now working with the second tier of leaders, in some cases the third tier of leaders, a reformed or at least a regime changed, because it's different individuals, and they can't really talk to each other. Because one of the first things we did was to shut down their ability to communicate and the command and control center. So I got to assume there's a little bit of chaos going on in Iran right now, but that's not any reason to give them a long lead time of getting their act together, shall we say.
Yeah.
Right. 12 ships is not 130, and that's how many were moving through the Strait pre-war. But we want to move on to this. Dear KT, ceasefire be damned. The Democrats are still accusing President Trump of war crimes.
And Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin is planning a virtual briefing on the 25th Amendment on Friday.
KT.
I can't believe that. I mean, here's the thing. I spent all day yesterday trying to argue with people who were saying that President Trump was going to nuke Iran, that he was going to kill 93 million people with nuclear weapons if they didn't accede to his demands. And isn't this terrible? Aren't those tweets horrible? Look, he got it done. One of the reasons President Trump is such a good negotiator is he goes in, and he says it in his book, The Art of the Deal. He goes in big, he goes in hard, he goes in fast, with an impossible demand, knowing that he's going to negotiate his way down. And in the end, he'll probably meet him halfway. He'll get what he wants to get. And in a funny way, all those Democrats and the media who were saying, Donald Trump is a war criminal, he's going to kill all those Iranians, I think it actually probably had a good deterrent effect on the Iranians, because if they're scared, they're not sure that they can, what's going to happen to them. Remember, their boss and their boss's boss have just been killed off. And they're now reading that maybe Donald Trump is going to come and attack their country. I think it gave them even more of an incentive to hurry up and settle quickly.
Does this feel like just a conflict between the parties, or is this a real constitutional crisis that you think we're headed towards?
I think the Democrats don't have anything else to talk about, Marcus.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to hate Trump somehow. And they've now just been presented with some extraordinary achievements of the president. A military engagement, which is going to go down in the history books, going to be studied for generations at West Point and Annapolis, of how did they pull this off. And then the negotiations that he's had just in the last 48 hours, those have been extraordinary. So what are the Democrats going to do? They're in this awkward position. Do they say, well, we wanted Iran to win, because we hate Trump so much, we really want him to lose, so maybe we want Iran to win. They're in a terrible position. I guess the only thing they can do is go back to their impeachment, Russia, Russia, Russia.
Iran was enriched by Joe Biden, who waived sanctions, in essence, trying to appease a terrorist nation to hundreds of billions of dollars that it was allowed to export oil, KT. And we watched it happen. And we watched Iran's proxies, kill innocent Israeli families. And we knew about it. And now they're upset about gasoline prices. Well, high gas prices is what they wanted to fight climate change. So they don't know their asshole from their elbow. Oop, I'm sorry. Did I say that? KT McFarland, great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.